Greetings, welcome back, folks. David back again with another video, another journal update. I've got my ticket stub. I saw Beetlejuice today, and yeah, again, very not impressed with the quality of the ticket stub these days. They've really. I can't help it. I'm going to keep complaining about this. I want the old style, the good looking ticket stub with the thick paper, and you're like, I really did something. But this is what is this? It's like a receipt from Walmart or the dollar store. You can see it on there. 2:30, 2:30, 12:30, 12:30 showing over at the AMC in Mobile, Alabama. One of their last showings that they're going to be having. I think it's going to finally close out this week. Beetlejuice from Warner Brothers. I was just looking at on Google how it's got $450.1 million. It's done pretty good, and I've noticed that that every time I've been trying to see it for the past 2 or 3 weeks, I haven't been able to get to the movie theater. My job as an over-the-road truck driver doesn't really permit that. I'm like, well, it's still there, and again, it's at the theater this week, and this week well, it's gonna be gone. I can't believe it's still there. Finally, I said, you know what? I'm gonna duck over there. I'm gonna go see it today after worship services, and that's what I did. And I'm glad I saw it because even though um, I enjoyed the film, and even though it's been 30 years since I saw that crazy movie. 30 years since I saw Beetlejuice. I haven't watched it since I was a kid. My sister said last night, "You watched it 100 times." I'm like, I remember watching it, but I don't remember watching it that much. I don't actually remember the events of the movie, like scene by scene, the way I still remember to this day Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first film, even some of the second one. I didn't hate the third film, but mostly like Turtles 1. Almost the whole movie is still burned in my brain, even though I haven't seen it in many years. Beetlejuice, not so much. I don't think I watched it that much when I was a kid. I just remember liking it, and I'm glad I saw this. And again, this is going to be my impressions, my review, as I say everything that I can think to say. Telling you the truth here, just giving you my take on it. But I'm going to say some things that are like, did you like this movie or not, David? Well, yeah, I liked it. I got to say that right out of the get go. It's just I want to tell you every thought I had about the film. First time I heard they were going to make a sequel, I said to myself, please no. Please no. Not Beetlejuice. It's one of the few things you guys haven't ruined with your updated modern woke junk. Please leave Beetlejuice alone. You already ruined Willow. Well, no, I take that back. That's not right. They didn't ruin Willow. I just didn't watch the show. Even Warwick Davis said, it's really not that good. The show that they made. They don't actually ruin things that were made back when. Not in my mind. This stuff doesn't count. All this woke junk that they made. I'm going to talk about that more. I'm gonna do a stream or a video one day where I just talk all about so much of the art and film that's been done by agenda. And so, really, in my mind, it doesn't even count. I don't think of Star Wars as being dead because of these horrible new movies. And so it is with this. But this actually was a decent sequel, Beetlejuice. I enjoyed this movie, even though when I first heard they were going to make a sequel, I'm like, please no. It's just going to be a cash grab. They're going to use this name that people remember and they love so much from back in the day, and they're going to use it to make a few bucks. They'll probably throw in some agenda stuff, some feminist stuff, some woke stuff. There is a slight bit of climate changey stuff between the daughter of Winona Ryder's character. It's Astrid Deeds, played by Jenna Ortega. She has like a back and forth with the grandmother, who is let me get her name right. She was Kevin McAllister's mother in Home Alone. Kevin, why isn't she on here? Giving me everybody. Oh, there she is. Catherine O'Hara. I can't remember her name, but whenever I see her in something, especially these days, I think of Kevin McAllister's mother from Home Alone, and I think to myself, it's always neat to see her, and whatever she's in, it's just neat somehow. I don't know why. It's just cool. So she's in this, has kind of a back and forth with the uh, don't want to mess up her name, Astrid, and it's I was entertained. Even though, again, brutal honesty, I want to say everything I can about this movie in this one video. This could have been kind of a direct to DVD or straight to streaming type thing. It didn't seem or feel like it was all that epic in terms of, oh, we got to see this new Beetlejuice movie. And yet, I have to say that I think they did everything that they could do in terms of using as many of the same characters as they did then, except they didn't use. Can you blame them? They didn't use Alec Baldwin or. Please forgive me. Why can't I think of her name? There are just so many names. Let me look up Beetlejuice real quick. I'm going to be ashamed of myself. Gina Davis. Why couldn't you remember Gina Davis's name, David? Anyway, they're not in this. And another cast member who I guess they thought was somewhat problematic. What is his name? Looks like they're not wanting to credit him here, but he's in the movie, but not in the movie. He was Jeffrey Jones, who I'm not even going to bother looking up the history, his run-in with the law or any the rumored stuff, the alleged stuff. I'm not. Maybe he did something. I don't know. I'm not even going to bother looking at it. I only heard that maybe really didn't deserve to be free, much less in movies. I don't know. But his whole character, it was the grossest thing. It was the most morbid thing in this movie. And by the way, spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear certain spoilers or certain details, please click out of this and come watch my review at some other time. It's the worst thing ever. Apparently he died since the events of the first film, and now he's walking around in the afterlife with the literal wounds of having had a shark bite his whole head off down to his diaphragm. This whole thing right here is gone, but somehow he's still able to talk. Explain it to me. No, don't bother. It's crazy. And I tell you what, that's one thing that when you get to the parts of the movie where you see in the purgatory idea or the whatever place they're depicting here, where there's supposed to be this place in between the great unknown and fiery hellfire below and the land of the living. It reminded me of what my mom said about Deadpool that I couldn't argue with her about. She says, who could like this stuff? He's making fun of death. It's who watches this trash? I got to thinking about that idea as I was watching the film, like kind of playing around with the idea of death there, aren't they? That's what this thing does, Beetlejuice, this movie, and kind of they kind of go about it in a heartfelt, a lovable morbidity or something like that. Like death isn't so bad. You can go in and out of it. It's meant to be in good fun. But one thing about this movie is these people are so, it's been 30 years and I know I'm all over the place with this review. I'm just giving you my take on it. I got back from the theater like 2 hours ago. These folks are so odd. Every single one of them in this movie, that when you finally get to see some good old Michael Keaton Beetlejuice, it's like, okay, this is going to be odd too, to the extreme, but he's really funny. And he is. He's a card. And maybe he's not as much of a card as maybe, again, I haven't seen the film in 30 years, but I liked it. That's all I can say. It was some good escapism for me. Forgot about the world for a couple of hours. I was thinking on the ride home, like, oh, I got to go back to work tomorrow. I got to go truck driving again for 4 or 5, maybe 6 days. But I enjoyed the film. I was debating yesterday about whether or not I wanted to just rent it through YouTube on here real quick and watch it this way. Maybe I could have, but you know what? I'm glad I went to the theater because that's what I want to do. And I got to watch the movie with other people. These days, when you go buy your ticket, if you haven't pre-ordered the thing, you go up when you're buying your Coke and your popcorn, and they ask you what seats you want. And I couldn't help it. Like several of the things are X'd out. I'm like, wow. There's like a dozen people who are going to be watching this movie with me. I thought this thing was winding down. I might be the only person in here. But no, I got to watch it with other people, like 10, 11, 12 people in there. And that was nice. That's what I want. I want to go to the movies and watch the movie with other people. Um, okay, from the beginning, something was coming back from what I remember. I forgot about the model of the whole neighborhood, the little table model, but it's still there. And it was so great to realize, oh, that's what this is. Because it's like the camera work as the titles are coming on and you got this music. I couldn't help but think something's, my memory's being jogged. I've heard this music from somewhere, but it's been a long, long time. This is Beetlejuice music. That's what this is. That's where this is from. It's not the Addams Family. It's not anything else that's come down the pike. This is Beetlejuice. And there's Winona Ryder's character. I'm gonna try and make sure I get everybody's name right. Lydia. I might not have remembered anybody except maybe her from the original film as far as names. All of a sudden, she's doing her horror show, and I was like, "What is this? Ghostbusters 2?" Venkman's got his own paranormal show. I guess it's somewhat similar to that, ghost stories. And do you want to know what happened when I went into your haunted house? She's got this actual couple on her show with the Chihuahua that even growls a little bit on cue when you mention his name. It was so funny. There are so many. It's not. I don't know if you call it slapstick humor, but there are so many like people aren't this funny in real life, but you wish they were. That kind of thing. The quick back and forth people are having nonstop throughout the movie, within the family and interactions with other people. Okay, this is what kind of bugged me. I didn't want it to, but Monica Bellucci's character Dolores. Somebody said they wish that Tim Burton hadn't put his wife in this movie, but I didn't hate the character or anything like that. It's just I couldn't help but think about one of the reviews that I messed up and read a few nights ago when I was thinking about trying to get to the theater somewhere along my truck driving and just maybe park in the back alley of the movie theater or something so I could watch a movie and maybe I would watch this. I read a review about this film, Beetlejuice, that said, I enjoyed this film. It took a minute for it to get going, maybe 40 minutes. I was like, oh, that's quite a while. And that's true. That's the way this film worked. But then the person said, when it got going, I really cared about these people's lives. And I thought about those words as I was going along. And really, I do as well. Most of all, for the plight of Jenna Ortega's character, Astrid Dietz. She was good in this. And I think it might be the first thing I've ever seen her in. How? Okay, she's 22, and when I saw her, I was like, "Where have I seen her from? I know I've seen her somewhere." And as I was pulling out of the Taco Bell and thinking about it, I was thinking, she is in that show Wednesday. That's where I've seen her. That's the only place I could have seen her, and I haven't watched the show Wednesday. I just know they made a show about Wednesday, and so I thought, wow, that goes so well with Beetlejuice. She's already been smack dab in like a little gothic girl playing Wednesday Addams. That's gothic personified. And again, I love the Addams Family from back in the day, but I haven't watched this Wednesday TV show. I've never seen it. Didn't have any inclination to. Too busy when it came out. So many shows I haven't watched. But I'm like, that's where I've seen her. That's exactly where I've seen her. So she was good in this. And she's like a major skeptic of her mother. That's part of the big plot of the movie, the journey they go on, that she doesn't believe her mother. And in the meantime, Lydia is kind of still tormented by Beetlejuice. She's starting to see him again in flashes. And in the meantime, she's on the outs with her daughter because her daughter thinks she's a fraud. This guy, Justin Thoreau, playing Rory, this character deserves a movie all his own because he's just that quirky, just that he's a memorable character. Annoying and creepy, but like you don't forget about him. It's like this dude, he's trying to, he's just using Lydia for, he's like her manager, and it's so, I mean, the quirkiness is off the chain. He goes into the ladies' dressing room to try and console her because she just had to leave that audience when she was filming a show so abruptly, and try and console her and like talk her down. And he digs her pill. No more pills. I'm not going to have you throw your career over for pills. And then she's like, just let me help get through this one show. It's like, all right. So he goes and he digs her pills, her Xanax, or whatever the world that was, out of the. He puts one in her mouth and he takes one himself. Are you kidding? This dude's a nut. It was like people in the theater were like, what was that? Rory, my goodness. And he, he's not a hanger on. He's her manager, but he wants more money. He wants her shtick, her theme. It's not really her shtick within the thing. It's her life within this film, the story. But it's paranormal stuff, like a ghost story show that she's doing in the film. And it's just, he ends up proposing to her at her father's wedding. It was so weird. And like I said, everybody's so odd in this movie. I'm sure I'm going to enjoy Beetlejuice the first whenever I watch it again. I just know I am. I wonder why they didn't bring back Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin, because Alec Baldwin has had some legal trouble himself and some unsavory behavior. But they brought back this other guy and they just let him walk around without a head for the whole movie. I wonder if there's something to that. And so instead of more human side, there already is that in this film. Part of the other story that's unfolding parallel is Beetlejuice's own wife. You see this flashback to when he was alive 600 years ago or whenever, and Monica Bellucci was part of a soul-sucking cult. And again, a rather humorous historical montage plays in the film, and it's so goofy. It kind of reminds me of a Mel Brooks movie, but Mel Brooks movies had a lot more sexual innuendo and kind of dirty, filthy stuff. This film didn't have. One thing about Tim Burton, he doesn't really go there a whole lot. He's always just got to have cemeteries and gothic whatnot and people with zipper scars in their necks in all of his movies. But just for a second, let me double down again on let me circle back to what I was saying about things I can say that made me doubt the movie going in. It was this. I thought this is just going to be a cash grab. Tim Burton's just going to try and make a check and blah, blah, blah. It's not going to be that good. I enjoyed the movie. I did. It was a neat little addition to the cinematic Beetlejuice universe, such as it is. And if they make a Beetlejuice, I'll probably watch that one as well. Since I've watched this one, let me see. Oh, Google says Beetlejuice 3. Third Beetlejuice film is possible, as producer Tommy Harper has expressed optimism about director Tim Burton returning to complete the trilogy. Harper said, I think with Tim's love for the title and the characters, the door is open, but we'll see what happens next. The thing is, in this movie, yet again, Beetlejuice is trying to wed Lydia. He wants to, and he wants to make the jump into the land of the living, or I don't remember what really the plot of the first film was. I just don't remember it. I'm going to watch it again one day. But in the meantime, I enjoyed this. And Lydia, the whole thing is about getting her to marry him in the end. And I got to talk about this because I think I'm going to sneeze. This character, it opens with Danny DeVito getting his soul. He's like a green-faced purgatory creature or whatever, and Dolores sucks his soul out, and that's the first time you see her transform somebody who was at least somewhat alive into a puddle on the ground. Let me go through some of the cast here. I'm going to start with Arthur Conti. Jeremy Fraser. Wait a second, have I seen him in anything? Something about him wanted to be familiar to, but no, just these two credits. House of the Dragon, Beetlejuice. Okay, well, I haven't seen House of the Dragon. Anyways, I don't know why he just seemed familiar to me somehow, but this guy's character, Jeremy Fraser, I guess it's because I'm such a soft-hearted, naive sort of person. I want to find the good in everybody. I think everybody's going to be good. No. Again, spoilers. Astrid is so fed up with what's going on in her home and how this guy, Rory, who she knows is just using her mother, and it confronts him about it, even, and who says, "What if she wants to let herself be used? Then so be it." She's very, the Astra's very mature and knows what's going on in the way few people that young often are. She's riding her bike, and you're just thinking that she's suddenly having these close calls with vehicles. She's like, no way, she's about to die and go to where Beetlejuice is. Nah, but she does accidentally crash through this fence where she meets Jeremy Fraser. You're thinking, oh no, she just hit her head so hard against this big oak tree looking thing with the tree house. She just died. No. What happens is he's in his tree house, this almost man-sized young man, a full-grown fella, up in his treehouse, just chilling, and they start up a friendship just by talking about each other's lives and where they're from, what their home life is like. They see they have some similarities, like with their being on the outs with their folks, her with her mother, and it's so clever. Or maybe I'm just easy. When he takes her into his home, Astrid, and shows her just how his parents literally don't pay him any attention and don't really care what he does. They literally don't look at him. It's like they don't even know he's there, which is really, that's really something, because, well, come to think of it, it doesn't matter if within the mythology of the movie, staying true to the way they're telling these stories and the rules that they set up for how the afterlife works and this and that and the other. You don't know it yet, but again, well, let me I gotta say this right, because this actually threw me. I was like, oh man, this is a big this is a big double cross. They're becoming like a young romance, boyfriend, girlfriend, and when Winona Ryder's character Lydia finds out from the realtor lady, I guess it's is it Jane Butt Jr.? Is that yeah, that's uh, the character, that this house where he lives is a murder house. Oh, it couldn't be Jeremy that she went to see. He married he killed his parents 23 years ago, and Lydia's freaking out now, like that's where my daughter is. So then she runs off, and I didn't see it coming. I did not see that coming, folks. This kid, his acting of, he's just, I thought we could just hang out, and he's luring her, Astrid, in with this. I'm just a non-threatening guy, and I like you. I like you a lot, and we do have a lot in common. Not too overbearing, but just enough that she like gets caught in his web and would go for anything that he was like really serious about or that he was like concerned about. He gets her, he tricks her into going to the afterlife interim place and signing her life force over to him so that he gets his life back, and she stays in the afterlife and even is put on the train to the great beyond. And it's like, I didn't see this coming. You are a scumbag, Jeremy. It's so evil. It's so evil, and you didn't see it coming. So one thing about it, when you get to that part of the film where he gets his comeuppance, and you're like, oh no, they're too late. And he's literally dropped dead into hellfire. It's like, wow, this is I wasn't expecting this stuff, man. You just got real on me all of a sudden from your your lighthearted, fanciful storytelling about how death works and the afterlife works. It's such a thing, because I don't personally subscribe to the idea of purgatory or anything like that. I don't believe this stuff. It's just a fun little movie that plays around with the way that people do believe about how things work in the spirit realm. Even though I believe in heaven and hell, I don't believe there's some interim place where maybe you can come back to life. And I don't think so, folks. That's I don't believe that. But this movie shows you some of the ideas, especially in the goth stuff of what people do believe, and it's got a little bit of worth in it for that reason. I kid you not. This guy Jeremy Fraser, played by Arthur Conti, man. I was like, you dog, because, and I even told my mother a little bit about this, just half-heartedly telling her, yeah, you might have liked the movie, you might have got a kick out of it. I told her about this part about how he got her to read the words, and the thing is, she's like, well, that should be like a sincere thing. It's like only if the person, and this is how astute and how smart my mom is. Like, well, you're all right about that, and I just enjoyed the film so much I didn't think so much about it. But it's like, that's right. Surely you would need to mean these incantation words that are supposed to open portals to other dimensions up, and especially if you were going to make some deal to trade out your Earth life so somebody else could have theirs back who's died. It's like, yeah, you're right about that, Mom. Reminded me of Army of Darkness when Ash can't remember the third word that the monk told him, the Latin whatever. It's like Clatu Verata, and he's in the cemetery and everything, and he can't remember the, like, definitely starts with an, it's definitely an N word. And then he makes like he sneezes. Look, he makes like he sneezes and says the word so he can get away with it. He's like, I'm in a cemetery, nobody's really here. And then the dead rise because he messed up the incantation words. You gotta mean it, sure. So Mom had a point. Well, he shouldn't have been able to do that. You got to be able to mean this stuff when you say it. But the whole thing about how he got her to go with him and how he used the bait of her own father, because she always wanted to see her father again, just to say goodbye, to see him one more time. That was low. That was low, Jeremy. And you got dropped down into the fire because of it. Literally, when in the course of things, Lydia goes into the place herself using Beetlejuice's help and finds Astrid and finds what was her husband's name in the land of the living? It was Richard, who had died in a boating. It's so morbid, man. They have the actual fish, the little piranhas or whatever that attacked him or whatever in a boating accident, sticking out of his neck and the side of his head and stuff. I'm like, could we not maybe have like a force ghost kind of a thing? It seems like I remember in the first movie. Again, I can't hardly remember this stuff, but there's just images from 30 years ago when I was a kid, when I watched Beetlejuice, like kind of corporeal, like ghostly things and like floating things, and not as much. I kid you not. Tim Burton went out of his mind with this stuff. However you die, that's how you die. People are burnt up and sitting in the waiting room like, oh, Merry Christmas. There's a guy who I guess he was with the he double crossed the mob or something. He's all crunched up and crushed into a box with his hand sticking out, and it's like he was put in there with a chain around it and dropped into a lake. That's how he died, and so that's how he showed up in the afterlife. How did he get there? How did he walk? If that's how was he gonna progress in line to somebody's got had to have moved him there. It's like, and the one guy who he died from a shark biting him in half almost, and that's how he's walking around with no head. They went they went overboard with the well, this is how you die, this is how you are, shot up, stabbed up, people with, what was the guy? He had a bunch of hot dogs sticking out of his mouth. What was that about? There are so many things like that. You can't even compute it all. But I remember seeing over in the waiting room of purgatory or whatever this first room of the afterlife is. And the very first time you see it is crazy. Delia Dietz, artsy fartsy woman, her, I don't know if this is her lover or what, her director or whatever is helping her get these art gigs. He's cussing at her in some foreign language. He's not paying attention to where he's going. He's yelling at her while he's on the phone. You think he's cussing at her. He goes out into the rain, not walking where he's going. He falls down a manhole. Apparently, he dies. That's the first time in this movie where you see that dim green light and the way that the black and white tiles. And that's the first time you see Danny DeVito's character. Got him in here. Oh, my goodness, Danny DeVito. Hey, Toots, you're not allowed down here. She comes over and sucks his soul out. Like, man. And Lydia Deetz, man. Winona Ryder. 90% of this movie was her going at everything. Beetlejuice, her mother, her dreams as she wakes up, her fiance guy. Man. But I started to say something a minute ago and I got sidetracked. Oh, yeah. There are so many of those, like, there was a guy with hot dogs or something sticking out of his eyes. His feet, like, did he die in an all-you-can-eat hot dog eating contest? That's all I can think. Now, you know what? I'm going to do a Google image search, and I'm going to see if I can find that image of. I'm gonna just Google this. Beetlejuice hot dog guy is in the recommended thing. Recommended drop down. Screen Rant, October 26, 2024. What? I just Googled this by chance, man. I kid you not. Beetlejuice 2's failed cameo with I'm going to click on it. World record hot dog. Oh my goodness. This is in the movie. Let me share. You know what? I can't share a screen. Can I share a screen? Of course I can share a screen, even though this is a recording. I kid you not. This guy right here was over. This guy. I just thought of this. He was standing up against the wall, and that's what it was. I just thought of this. I remembered in the movie. It was the world record hot dog eating contest. Fulfilled a missing afterlife detail. Would have fulfilled him. Tim Burton set his sights on a certain celebrity for a cameo role in Beetlejuice 2, which would have also solved a major mystery surrounding the afterlife. The Beetlejuice franchise's Netherworld is explored on a grander scale in Burton's sequel, expanding the realm and introducing new faces who work down there. Of course, the return of the afterlife also paves the way for more new characters in Beetlejuice 2, including those who have died in very strange ways. You're telling me. Aside from Juno and Miss Argentina, most of the dead are seen as ghosts in the Netherworld waiting room. But that part of the lore gets an upgrade in this sequel. Between Beetlejuice and Beetlejuice 2, Beetlejuice became an afterlife call center manager with his own office of workers, who also happens to be shrinkers. The waiting room still exists, which Charles and Delia both visit after their respective deaths, but the sequel also shows off other areas of the afterlife, including Wolf Jackson's office, the immigration area, and the Soul Train platform. While various characters, dead and undead, wander around the realm, Beetlejuice 2 showcases many of the people who have recently entered the afterlife, and one of those characters was nearly played by a celebrity. Tim Burton wanted Joey Chestnut to play Beetlejuice 2's dead hot dog contest eater. Why the cameo didn't work out? Oh my goodness. During Tim Burton's Beetlejuice 2 commentary feature, the director speaks about the creative nature of developing the last batch of dead people seen in the afterlife. Among the group is a man who died during a hot dog eating contest, one of the first afterlife characters Burton created, and someone Beetlejuice is sitting next to while waiting in the room in the sequel. Burton's Beetlejuice 2 commentary reveals he actually wanted a famous hot dog contest eater, Joey Chestnut, to play the afterlife character, but the competitor was too busy training for an upcoming event. Burton shared that he was inspired by Chestnut's record-breaking events when creating afterlife characters, so he decided to add someone who died as a result of eating too many hot dogs. And you can see there her sitting. Oh, there they are. The guy who he was crunched into a case and then sunk, drowned. And somebody, I don't know who this demon Santa Claus is. Did he die? He was a Santa Mall he was a mall Santa who died in his car and became mummified. I don't know what that is. Oh man, I got to get out of here. This is too much. This is too much. I just thought of that. I was like, that's one of the things I remember seeing in the movie of the afterlife thing. There's plenty of stories they could tell with Beetlejuice, that's for sure. I remember watching the cartoon so many years ago, and all I can really remember as far as imagery, apart from Beetlejuice and Lydia, is the black and white tile and the way everything suddenly inverts and curves around, going into another dimension and stuff. That specific Beetlejuice lore, that Beetlejuice look to the way the world is in that story. But let me get back on track here. Let's get into a little bit more of the cast. The only other person that I thought was somewhat familiar was somebody named, well, I'm going to get into William Dafoe in just a minute, but Burn Gorman as Father Damien. I don't know where I saw this guy from, excuse me, but I'm like, I've seen him somewhere. I Googled him right before I started this recording, and he was in The Dark Knight Rises, The Dark Knight Rises as Stryver or whatever I believe was his name. I'm like, that's where I've seen this guy. He's Father Damien, the priest in this, and he's kind of funny. He has some funny lines too. It didn't even mean to be that funny. It's just part of the way that the quirky dialogue in this movie, just one person after another, he comes off as funny too. It's like, oh, when the Lord will accept you into His bosom in heaven, and when he's doing when the funeral's going, when Delia Deet's husband has died. I'm trying to think they don't have him properly listed in the cast here, and so I'm having a hard time remembering who what his name was in the original film. I'm going to say it. I'm going to get this right here, because I remember him from the first movie. It's Charles Deeds. His name was Charles, played by Jeffrey Jones. And the other guy that I remember from that movie, but it wasn't in this, obviously, was Glenn Shaddix. Again, I can't remember the movie exactly, but I remember him, like the actor's face. Although, if I could say anything that I remember about him, he was with the artsy fartsy people when they have their whatever at the end of the movie. Does the art come to life or something like that? That's what I remember, I think. Again, it's been 30 years. Anyways, they didn't have Gina Davis or Alec Baldwin, I guess, because Lydia said, well, they've died. But it's Beetlejuice. That doesn't stop you from having a cameo appearance, because it's a Beetlejuice movie, and lots of people who are dead are still in the movie. The characters, anyways, in the film. So let me get back to it. Again, I just got to say, it threw me for a loop, and I was like, you devil dog, man. Jeremy Fraser, you scumbag. That was so evil what you tried to do to that girl. He killed his parents, and he's trying to get her to change places with him. And then when Lydia, imagine your daughter, you realize your child is in a murder house with a potential murder. She goes in there, and all of a sudden you see his parents. He put a saw through his dad's head. He put another saw through his mom's eyeball. It's like, oh, what is this movie rated? Anyways, let me check. PG-13. Well, when he said, you can see your dad again if you help me do this, and you're the only one who sees me. I died 23 years ago, and I can't go any further than around the corner here. It's like, it was a well done thing. It was a well done thing. But when they all meet up with his father, and then they try and go to stop what's going on, and Jeremy Fraser's about to he's about to go off into the world of the living again, and they're like, don't stop that passport. They're coming around, and you realize, and Jeremy's like, oh, you're too late. Sorry. What a scumbag, Jeremy. And then you realize it's Beetlejuice, who's the clerk stamping it. And what did it say? Rejected? Is that rejected or No, it said S-H-I-T, out of luck. That's what it said. Oh, right. And then I think Dostoevsky said he called him the F word. He pulls a lever and Jeremy falls down into hell. It's like, what? This it's unpredictable. It's unpredictable because it's a Beetlejuice movie, and to end up with him yet again trying to marry Lydia at the end of this movie, not once but twice, you get to see Michael Keaton in this movie with someone else's voice. He's singing, "Wherever you go, I will be right here." That was so funny when Lydia remembers the rules. Home, home, home. She gets back out of Beetlejuice's pocket dimension or whatever. But there's the model, and there's little Beetlejuice down. She's looking at him, and again, it's Winona Ryder's face yet again. Like it's her whole life is just she's looking down at this thing, and he's serenading her because he still wants to get married to her. He somehow he thinks that's the only way he can escape his wife and what she wants to do to him or something. But I'll not say anything more about the end of the movie apart from it's as quirky and I'll go ahead and say as fun as anything else in the rest of the movie. But I guess I'll finish up by talking about Willem Dafoe as Wolf Jackson. He was an actor in life, and whatever happened to the side of his head. Oh yeah, who knew it was a real grenade, a live grenade? That's how he died. He's he's like Chevy Chase in Cops and Robertsons, looking at himself in the mirror, going, "You talking to me? You, me?" He's always holding the gun and doing poses and just acting like good cop, bad cop. He's funny in this, and I liked him. He seems like Willem Dafoe's in so many more movies more often than I remember in years past. But I don't know. Maybe that's just my imagination because I know he's been in a lot of stuff, and I've enjoyed quite a few of his movies. But he's in this. He's a card, and yeah, the way Rory and Dolores go out together. You know what? This will be a knock. The sandworm sequences being all of a sudden in the desert on when Esther's saying this is like one of the moons of that's Saturn. We must be on one of its moons. The afterlife is so random. It's like that whole thing seemed like it almost seemed like we're just doing this just to have a callback to the first movie. At least that's a first thought that I had because it was over before you knew it. And the sandworm, I don't think looked that good. The stop motion and the crazy cartoon when they were talking about how her dad's plane went down looked better than I think that sandworm did. It just didn't look that good to me. I think again, I can barely remember the first movie, but I want to say that one looked better. The sandworm within a sandworm, that's neat. Anyways, yeah, I got to complain about something about this movie. Anyways, there's it's kind of a heartwarming reconciliation, even though they weren't apart. They have been drifting apart this whole time, Astrid and Lydia, and it's the quirkiness. Delia dies because the snakes in her crazy little artsy fartsy Eastern mystic Gothic whatever ceremony she was doing as far as part of her mourning her husband were the asps, poisonous asps. Oh, they've been defanged. She raises them up and she's praying and da da da. They whack her each in the once like in each jugular, and she's like, ah. She instantly goes out. She dies, and so then she's and then she's reconnected with her husband in the afterlife, who they made go headless throughout the whole movie. I don't know about it. I'd like to think that if they do make a Beetlejuice, is Beetlejuice finally going to be victorious, or is Liddy going to die and be with Beetlejuice forever there, or what? Is Beetlejuice ever going to get a break? That's what I'm wondering. Anyway, I like Michael Keaton in this. I wish there had been more of him because every time he was Beetlejuice, every scene that he was Beetlejuice on the screen, I loved it. I did. I loved it when he said, oh, when she's making him, like, promise me you'll do such and such. Oh, I promise on my poor mother's grave. He instantly bursts into flames and is having to put out his suit coat. I'm like, there's so many things like that. And when he's like possessing people at the end and looking around and just taking over everything. I just like me some Michael Keaton. What can I say? Even if I think I hate his politics in real life, I like me some Michael Keaton. These guys make these productions that are memorable and that you really enjoy. And it seems like there was one more thing I was going to say about somebody, but now I've forgotten what it was. I think I've talked about everybody. Oh yeah, for possible sequels. Oh yeah, I'll just say about the good ending, even though it still ends with a quirky. Is Lydia still haunted by Beetlejuice? Kind of a funny joke, and it's the relationship that she and her daughter have at the end of the movie. That I'm so sorry, I should have believed you, and they hug and they make up, and it's like she's got her the reunion, the closure that she had with her dad, being able to see him one more time, and saying, "I look in on you all. Don't let my passing keep you apart. You need one another." It was good. It was actually good stuff, and I like that part of the ending. And quirky grandma, at least I think even she is happier with her Richard and the great beyond than Muddy, kind of messing around in real life. At least that's the impression you're given by the way this story goes. You're like, when her own granddaughter says, your works will increase in value, she's actually like, oh, right. It's like, now that you're dead, all these great, weird, odd looking things that you've made are going to be worth a lot of money now. It's like, unfortunately, that is true. That's a real life observation, is it not? That's just what happens with people. And anyway, I enjoyed the movie. I've been talking about this for 47 minutes. I got to watch Beetlejuice one day and just enjoy the nostalgia of it. Maybe they'll make a Beetlejuice. And anyway, I guess I've said everything I can say except one thing. I didn't like it when they killed Bob. When Dolores sucked the soul out of poor Bob, who was a shrink head guy who never hurt anybody. I'm like, that wasn't cool. That wasn't cool at all. But at least they did honor him at the end of the film before the credits start rolling, in memory of Bob, 1974 to 2024. So there is that, I guess. Anyways, I gotta shut up, folks. Hope you enjoyed this review / nostalgia montage. I didn't mean to get into the hot dog guy, but I just suddenly remembered that I remember seeing that image of, what was that? What was a lot of stuff in this movie. Anyways, it was just some fun popcorn movie time for me, and I appreciate it. So till next time, folks, thank you so much for watching my videos. Oh, forgot. Journal time. It was November 10 when I made this video. I got to fit that in somewhere, folks, because this is a journal channel, movie journals. Okay, so till next time, folks, thank you so much for listening to me, and we'll see you next time. Take care.